Morning. Morning, folks. Welcome aboard. Morning, Alistair, Jim, Lenny, James, Ewan, James again, Rab, Rosemary, Robert, Bob, Nancy, Stephen. How are we doing? Numbers are climbing nicely. Ian, Quentin, Ruth, Lynn, Eileen. Right, that's over 100 on board, so let's get this broadcast underway. It's Indytruck Davy, out the truck and at home, and at his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where I will be doing my broadcast from in future, folks, because I now work a back shift. Alright, where it is overcast, rain's just went off, it's 13 degrees, a wee bit clammy. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. You want to know what the weather's like where you are? Look out your own bloody window, alright? So let's get this broadcast underway. This is a review of the weekend's news for the 24th, 25th and 26th of June 2022. Right, we'll start on Friday. Friday started with one main team in the rags. Tories lose two by-elections. One to the Red Tories in Wakefield in the north, and the other to the Fib Dems in Tiverton in the south. Now, the Devonshire seat has been Tory since the days of Queen Victoria, alright? And the Fib Dems overturned a massive 24,000 vote majority for the Tories in 2019. This leads to the losing Tory candidate hiding in a dance studio to avoid the press, but hey ho, didn't have to right wrapping the knuckles at you, eh? Anyway, other stories in the rags on Friday. Police Scotland may need to cut officer numbers as budgetary constraints and inflation makes a dent in Police Scotland's resources. Throw in Police Scotland, like everyone else, looking for inflation-busting pay rises, and the cuts will be necessary and inevitable, alright? This will be done via natural wastage, of course. That's what it's called. In other words, people retiring, getting pensioned out for health reasons, or of course getting the sack, or leaving because changing their careers. So there will be cuts in Police Scotland numbers. But as I've said before, the Scottish budget is fixed, it's finite, and if the public services want 10% pay rises, they better look at each other and make their mind up who's losing their jobs. Alright, also Friday, just to add to travel misery. Sorry about the dead air there, folks, I know it's not professional. Just to add to the UK's travel misery, baggage handlers and ticket issuers and inspectors for British Airways vote to go on strike at the start of the English school holidays. Timing's everything when you're taking industrial action, folks. Timing's everything, right? Moving on, Friday here in Scotland is revealed that revealed by the Red Tory MSP, Alex Rowley, that those paying for care home accommodation in Scotland are being ripped off. The cost of residential care ranges from £39,676 per year to £69,000 a year in Edinburgh, and that equates to £1,300 a week for a room in a care home in Edinburgh. That does not include the care package, folks, that's just to rent a room. Wow, mental. Now, that's why we need the National Care Service, folks. There's no point kidding on about it. We need to take this out of the hands of private fucking pirates and get this into something like a National Health Service where we actually value our elderly and infirm and ensure that the care that they require is there. Okay. Also Friday, Ian Blackford under fire for the Westminster SNP group's handling of the allegations made against Patrick Gady. Now, there's more to this story than meets the eye, folks. Now, the full findings of the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers inquiry into Mr. Brady is available on my timeline in PDF file form. Just scroll down and see it. This isn't what's being made out in the press here. The person who made the complaint's a serial complainer and has made allegations against others, and some of his complaints were thrown out because the panel, the committee in Westminster who were investigating the allegations, threw them out because the complainer actually set out in the press in 2021 to discredit Mr. Grady even before he'd been found guilty of anything. And by the way, what he was found guilty of was propositioning a young staffer. You know, trying to hit it off with a young member of staff. Mr. Grady's a single man. Shouldn't he have done it? Not in the workplace. Unprofessional. But not exactly crime of the decade, eh? It's not exactly Imran Khan in Wakefield fiddling 15-year-old boys. Or Neil Parish sitting in the Commons watching tractor porn in front of female colleagues. Wow. So, Mr. Brady tries to chat up a staffer and all of a sudden he's a serial sex pest. Well, actually it's the other way round. The complainer's a serial complainer. And that gets more interesting as the weekend goes on. Moving on Friday, in Bojo the Clown is hiding in Rwanda from the fallout of the Tory by-election losses in England. Tory party chairman, or co-chair, Oliver Downing, he saves Bojo's skin by taking the sacrificial lamb duty and falling on his sword. So, the co-chair, Oliver Downing of the Tory party, he takes the blame for the campaign losses in Wakefield and in Tiverton. And but, you know, so he takes the fall for Bojo. Anyway, but even in Rwanda, Bojo can't escape controversy. Bojo is there with the equally unpopular Prince Big Ears. And Big Ears and Bojo are having a wee spat over the policy to send asylum seekers to Rwanda, alright? Now Prince Big Ears says the policy of sending people, asylum seekers to Rwanda is inhumane and un-British and brings shame on the UK. Bojo says, shut up Big Ears, keep yourself out of politics, or you'll have Priti Patel deport him to Deutschland. After all, that's where they all come from. Right, also Friday, the criminal cabal in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers scraps the drive for green fuels for fear it will feed into inflationary pressures. And of course it's an ineffectual use of land. And they're going to need all the land they can, as Davy said, to start growing food. Because the way it is gone down that road, you know, food shortages and rations will soon be back on the cards. So the Green Agenda and commitments made at COP26 get thrown under the Brexit bus. Friday, Mike Russell, SNP President, says trade with our UK after Indy will be easy because we'll use the same arrangements as the NI protocol. Mike says trade will be easy, as I've said, and Davy says, as you know, I've been saying that on this vlog, and if you follow the two Davies vlog on YouTube, you'll have seen us discuss this extensively. Alright. And also Friday, the loonies in the house are smelly old drunks and has-beens. They want a say the whole of the UK have a say in the next Scottish independence referendum. The stuff for the weekend on Scottish independence was hilarious, but we'll get to the Sunday section of the show and we'll have a right good laugh about it, alright? So the drunks and the has-beens in the house, smelly House of Lords want a say in Scotland's future. What is are these fuckers stupid? This is a question for Scotland and Scotland's people, but some of the piss out of the weekend was mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. And also Friday, just to join the UK and going backwards on people's rights, the US Supreme Court overturns Wade versus Roe, or Roe versus Wade, whatever way you want to put it. Basically, they roll back women's rights to have an abortion. Some old men sitting in a creaky old court, Supreme Court, have decided that they will control women's medical issues, and they will control women's choice, and they will control women's bodies. What a backwards retro step that was. Expect better for Biden's mob. Saying that right enough, this was set up by Trump, and you don't expect any better than that, Trump. But the thing about that is, the Bible Belt in America, they will introduce blanket bans on abortion right away. That will see vast movement of people from state to state, and could see some of these states become pretty well empty. I've also seen reports that Scottish immigrants are starting to head home because of it. Right, so that's Friday in a nutshell for you. Let's move on to Saturday. And Saturday 25th of June 2022. Saturday started with more fallout from Thursday's by-election defeats for the Tories. Tory MPs start a petition in Sir Brady at the 1922 committee to change party rules to allow another vote of no confidence in Bojo the Clown. Apparently 30 letters hit the flare on Friday. Okay, now also in the headlines on Saturday we get Roe versus Wade. That gets a mention and all. Why it's getting a mention in the UK press and headlines when there's so much crap going on here, I have no idea. Also in Scotland, on Saturday, Catholic bishops come out against the Gender Recognition Act. They say the changes will be detrimental to society. And Davy says, funny that, it hasn't been detrimental in New Zealand, it hasn't been detrimental in the Nordic countries. I don't know where the Catholic bishops are coming from. But once again, we're in a position where we've got the clergy interfering in politics. They want to keep their nose out. Try and keep their eyes on their prize, which is heaven, wherever the hell that might be. And it takes an awful lot of time to be preaching to people on religious issues. No time for the church to be preaching on political issues. Get your own flocks in order and shut up, bishops. Right, moving on. Saturday, and another day of strike action is underway by Network Rail staff. Hospitality venues, venue owners go after chunks, saying that the rail strikes are affecting their earnings. The RMT are getting lots of support on the picket line, mainly because the leader, Mick Lynch, has skewered the corrupt, biased media and taken politicians in the corrupt House of Thieves and carpetbaggers to task. He tells the truth, he tells it like Addy, except for he swears less. He's absolutely right. There's plenty of money in the economy, or there would be, if the elite weren't taking it out and sticking it in the Cayman Islands. Moving on, Saturday, and the serial complainer who claimed Mr Grady, SNP MP, had sexually harassed him, makes claims that the SNP Westminster chief, Ian Blackford, is a bully. What he said was that after he made his complaint, that Mr Blackford stared him down and ignored him. Doesn't it sound very bullying to me? It means that Mr Blackford was looking at him, taking misery of the man, and then thought, "Ah, feck him," and walked away. Know what Blackford should have done, but it doesn't exactly describe bullying. It just, Blackford's taking a look at this serial complainer and went, "Nah, you know what, I'm not going to deal with you." And he's back to his MP. Rank call, but hey ho, that's the way it goes. And this was all before Mr Grady was found guilty of doing anything. Right, moving on. Well, by the way, we've only got a lot more of this. The British state trying to paint the SNP as black. They're cheating themselves. And I mean, they're crapping themselves down that road. Some of the nonsense of the weekend was absolutely hilarious. Right, moving on. Saturday, and Dr Grayson Elgin is back in the news. Another SNP Green Government bad story. Campaigners say that the ongoing struggle to recruit staff to work in the maternity unit at Dr Gray's could lead to deaths. They haven't so far, and the situation been on for a couple of years. I think we're getting to the point where the Tories up there are getting a bit shrill. They're even less popular than the fact that people cannot recruit for Dr. Gray's. I mean, who wants to go and live in Toryville? It's bad enough that it's up in the north and people are away from the central belt. Well, that's the thinking of the people, you know. It's up there, it's remote, it's the road. It's no, Elgin's a bustling wee city and it's a lovely place. But, you know, try to convince people from the central belt to go there. But apart from that, there is a shortage of medical professionals right across the NHS. So, I mean, if campaigners up there think you can just pluck midwives and consultant gynecologists out the air, they've flipped their frickin' lids. Alright, moving on. Saturday, Fiona Bruce accused of breaching BBC neutrality rules and of attacking Mike Lynch, the RMT leader, on Question Time. Well, you know what? I didn't see it, but I did see that segment. It was sent to me. And as far as Davy can see, she did butt in on Lynch. She did tell him more or less, your figure say shut up. Time to listen to the Tories. But BBC bias isn't something we're not used to up here. You know, Question Time audiences used to only be handpicked here in Scotland. Now they're handpicked everywhere. And it's you're either a Tory or you're not getting on. Or you'll be the token Labour supporter or the token Fib Dem down that road. Up here you'll be the token SNP voter. Right. Saturday, and the First Minister gets in on the comedy that is Bojo the Clown losing 2 by-elections. The First Minister says the Tories should oust Johnson. The FM says it ain't looking good for the Tories in the next election. Why the FM gives a shite? I don't know. Bojo's the best recruiting sergeant we've ever had. She's all on him. Also Saturday, it's been reported that pensioners in Scotland are going off-grid as they can't afford the cost of energy prices. This rampant profiteering will kill people because this coming winter, especially as it's now been reported that the next lift in the energy cap will see energy prices raise again by 51%. So pensioners can't eat, and they're going off-grid. Don't know what they're doing off-grid, but they can't afford their bills, so they're switching it off at the mains. Right, also, Saturday saw the 50th anniversary of the Pride marches celebrated in Glasgow, and still on 2,000 people marched for Scottish independence at the annual Bannockburn commemorations, and it was good fun, I have to say, right? And but 2,000 people, it's improving, but it's not a lot. People are still frightened of COVID, rightly so. It is quite high in the community at the moment. 1 in 20 Scots have it. But as we get further into this campaign, either they're going to have to chuck these millions of marches every month in all the small towns and cities, because it's starting to look a bit Londrother-like, and get back to doing big marches 2 or 3 times a year, where they will actually gather a crowd that will rock the press. Because 2,000 people in Stirling is not going to rock the press when you've got a population of 5.4 million and you've got 4 million voters. Just not going to cut it. Alright, let's move on to Sunday. Alright, Sunday started with one team in the Scottish Rags. One stupid headline, the Scottish Rags. The Herald and the Sunday Post run on Scotland's plans to hold Indytruck 2. The Herald claims Professor Karen Martin said that the UK government had blocked all legal routes to an independence referendum under British law. First up, Professor Karen Martin said no such thing. What he said was, the UK government don't look as if they're going to give you a Section 30 order, but there will be a legal way to hold a consultative referendum. Let me make this clear to everybody so they're not confused. All referendums are consultative, and governments are under no obligation to actually enact the outcome of a referendum. They normally do, because let's face it, it's the will of the people. But all referendums are consultative. And what Professor Karen Martin actually said was the UK government's not going to give a Section 30 order. You just have to have a legal consultative referendum under Scots law. Alright. Now, any referendum in Scotland would be legal, as you know, because the Referendum Scotland Act 2019 passed into law in January 2020. I don't know how many times I've got to say that. Alright, anyway. And also they claim in the Herald that Bojo had cut off all routes to a legal referendum under British law. Let's get this straight, folks. I don't know how many times over the years I've explained this. There is no British law. There's Scots law, there's English law, and there's a sort of mix of both in Northern Ireland, but it's separate as well. And any legislation that goes right across these islands goes right across these islands because it's agreed by all three legal systems. Simple as that. Alright. Also Sunday, it's reported that Catalonia politicians warned Scots about holding their own a referendum unilaterally after Spain's behaviour in Catalonia. Let's get this quite straight. The situation's not the same here. And there's absolutely no chance that the cops are going to put in polling station doors and drag away ballot boxes. That's not how the UK fiddle elections. The way that Tories fiddle elections is to throw money at areas and throw advertising campaigns at things and pay people to go chap doors rather than have activists do it. Right? That's how elections and referenda are rigged here in the UK. We don't run about battering people over the head for exercising their democratic right, and I don't see Westminster trying to do that. It just won't. It will know that any referenda held in Scotland, and it does know, will be legal under Scots law, because Her Majesty, their Queen, passed the Referenda Act 2019 into law in January 2020. Right. So, this piece about Catalonia warning Scotland is a made-up headline in the Post. And the other thing is, the UK Union is constructed of treaties. There's no way you can change that. That is exactly what it's made of. Unless you could write a new codified constitution and get the MPs to agree to it. And the Scottish MPs, they need to rip up the old constitution, and the Scottish MPs won't sign a new one. So there would be two sides to the treaty. There's only be one, and it wouldn't work. It wouldn't be legal. Alright, moving on. Sunday, and it's reported that Prince Charles has accepted a suitcase full of cash from an Arab sheikh. Alright, the money was sent to his foundation apparently. So there you go, Charlie's taking briefcases full of money, eh? There's a surprise there. As to the report that it's gone to his foundation, heard it. Right folks, I need more on this. Also Sunday, as the UK economy struggles, PM Bojo the Clown to impose steel tariffs to stop cheap imports to protect jobs in the North East. This is Bojo's latest attempt to woo voters in the North East to hold on to the red wall seats. Alright. Now, this punishes the steel industry, and it will do nothing for the UK industry also. Other nations will follow suit, making it harder for the UK to export the types of steel that we produce, and it will also make it more costly to import the type of steels that we don't produce. For example, the steel for the Queensferry crossing came from China. You remember the uproads for the cuckoos in the nest, who were screaming they should have made it in Scotland, don't find well that the Zeal plant and the Cambuslang plant don't produce industrial strength, or don't produce that sort of industrial strength steel. In fact, nowhere in the UK do you produce it, so it's going to come in from elsewhere. Well, this is just going to make it harder for importing of the sort of steel we need for building projects like the fourth crossing, the Queensferry crossing. Alright. Right, moving on. Sunday, and Prince Big Ears tells the heads of the Commonwealth states that the evils of slavery should be as widely taught as the evils of the Holocaust in Nazi Europe. You can tell he's out of touch. You can tell Big Ears is out of touch because 0 hours contracts and wage slavery is as common as food banks in the poverty-ridden UK. Bojo the Clown won't like Big Ears' intervention. Also Sunday, Bojo the Clown tells the press of his he intends to stay in office and he intends to win the 2024 election. Davy says the way the Tories have taken control of the Electoral Commission, taking 3 million voters out of voting with their voter ID, and they intend to gerrymander the constituencies under the Boundaries Bill, there's every possibility that Bojo could be in power to 2030. Right, moving on. Sunday, and we Yaft Ross, Dougie Ross, tells us all he won't take part in any referendum organised without the UK's permission and a Section 30 order, right? And to be fair, so Dross is then in front of the BBC here in Scotland, and to be fair to the BBC reporter, he takes Dross to task. He says, you try to tell us that the Scottish people are no human. This is basically what the reporter says, by the way, because he quotes the Human Rights Act and says, surely you agree that it is a people's right to self-determination as laid out in the United Nations Human Rights Act. Dross went, we had a vote in 2014. We had a vote in 2014. I don't think we should. It doesn't matter what Dross fucking thinks. It's the same with that idiot Alistair Jack. It doesn't matter what they two fucking wazzucks think. It matters what we think. We the people. No that wee Yav Dross or that fucking idiot that's hiding out the road, Alistair Jack. They think means nothing. We don't pay politicians to do what they fucking think. We pay them to do what's in their manifestos. And we vote on it because their manifesto is in line with our thoughts and our politics. We don't pay these spanners to think. We pay them to do what we bloody well elect them to do. And we elected that Scottish Parliament to hold a referendum. So that wee Nav Dross can shut his effing gob. And if that wee Nav Dross wants to take his Tories and boycott a referendum, good for him. He's just guaranteed a win for the yes side, taking 20% of the voters out of the equation. We don't negate elections because some spanner didn't show up to exercise their franchise. Everybody will have a franchise. If they don't want to exercise it, that's up to them. We didn't negate the last Scottish Parliament election because 33% of the electorate couldn't bother getting their arsehole into the polling station and voting in it. To vote. So if Dross wants to pull his stupid buggers and act like a wee twat and throw his dummy out the pram, because as the BBC reporter pointed out, the pro-independence parties won a majority. The pro-independence parties had a mandate to hold a referendum in the life of this Parliament. So, if Dross doesn't like it, it's time he gets arse out of that Parliament. Time for him to step away. Resign his seat, go back to the House of Thieves and carpetbaggers with a wee shite of langs. Right, also Sunday, COVID is in the news. Professor Jason Leach, who has just recovered from COVID, says COVID restrictions won't return. The ONS say 1 in 20 Scots currently carry the virus. 14,646 new cases last week, with 948 people in hospital, 17 in intensive care. And hospital admissions were up by 200 people last week. Now, if you have an underlying health condition, folks, please, put your mask back on. And be careful out there, alright? Right, moving on. Sunday, Ukraine, it's time for the Ukraine war update like I did each week, alright? The G7 are meeting, and the G7 leaders urge to stand by Ukraine as the conflict disappears from our news feeds. Zelensky is begging for more weapons. Russia takes the Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk as they continue to make progress in the Donbass and Luhansk regions. Alright, it's also been reported that Russia has defaulted on debt repayments due to sanctions. Russia has the cash, but due to banking sanctions, can't get the money to those that are due it. Also Sunday, the G7 meets in Zelensky, as I say, begs for more arms. While he's doing it, Russia launched missile strikes against Ukrainian capital Kyiv. Right? Now, I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found it informative. The other stories I picked out to talk about over the weekend, so I need to get a shifty on, so let's get to the newspaper review. Okay. Right, Scotland's newspapers this morning. MP Grady quits SNP and G7 pact on Ukraine, alright? Grady quits SNP amid sexual harassment claims. It's no claims. It's been proven with a Westminster inquiry. He's been punished. This pish is propaganda, anti-SNP, anti-Scottish Government propaganda, alright? The Times has Sturgeon commits to establish an abortion clinic buffer zones, and PM in Ukraine pact with Macron. The Metro has G-leaders mock Putin as the full Monty. We have to show them our pecs to let them know we're tougher. So all the fat gits in the G7 are going to get their tarps off. Right? The eye has leaders seek unity front away from turmoil at home. In other words, Bojo and the G7 leaders are putting together a pact to support Ukraine. Okay. The Daily Telegraph, Biden to block PM's answer to food crisis. And a US president opposes Johnson's plans to ease the cost of living by curbing green fuels. And Blackford and Grady fight for political lives. What a lot of piss, didn't you? Grady's just left the SNP and Blackford, well, he's not giving a chide. Charles accepts acceptance of cash from Qatar to be reviewed. There you go. The Herald has half of Scottish councils accused of mismanaging community funds. Probe reveals value of common good funds plunged by £8 million. So the councils are putting less into it, alright. And Scotland loses fourth, SNP loses fourth MP as disgraced Grady's stepping away. Fourth MP, I guess that'll be the two that went to Alpa and the one that says sitting as an independent because she travelled up and down to London on a train when she had COVID. Right, the Scottish Daily Mail has Britain is 3 billion fraud capital of the world, and that's because 2.7 billion in tax VAT hasn't been paid. Alright, companies are just, listen, there's not enough people in the tax office to track them down, and big business and all that, so they just don't give a shite, they're not paying. Right, the Daily Express has rush to cash in on homes before crash. Basically, we're being told the housing bubble is about to blow up. The Daily Record has he's not it again. Downright dangerous MSP blast controversial blasted over his support for controversial anti-abortion laws in America. All right, Paulson attacked after he welcomed shocking Supreme Court decision. Now, this is the story of John Mason, who's a highly religious man. He's entitled to his beliefs. I don't believe them, but he's a highly religious man, and he believes abortion's wrong. That's his beliefs. But why he's being blasted? What a pish. See the stuff you get in the papers? They just make it shut up. This is an SNP bad story because this religious man, it happens to be an MSP, an SNP MSP. What a lot of pish. And the time to stop rubbish and wishes of Scots. Says Sturgeon International. Okay. Right. That's what I've got for you for the weekend, folks. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. I hope you found the delivery entertaining. But Davy's got to get out of here before the dragon smites him. Alright? So, the usual stuff. The campaign's underway. Keep your eyes on the prize. Put partisan politics in your pockets. Lend you how you going. You get them in hearts and minds. Okay? Support the independent media. Support independent broadcasters and vloggers. And if they've got a crowdfunder gone, you've got to check out spare. Throw it in the pot. These guys do good work. Health messaging. COVID's on the rise. If you're vulnerable, mask up. Alright? Clean hands and surfaces regularly. If you've got the sniffles, mask up. And think about social distancing. And if you're still testing, send your test results into NHS Scotland, please, so we can see how much this is in the community. Catches all tomorrow when I'll be back to do it all again. So look after yourselves. Bye now.